Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Cryptocurrent. Your host here, Richard Carthon. And today I have a special guest that all of you should be very familiar with, especially if you've been checking out our crypto basics that is now becoming our crypto decrypting segment, as well as Aftershock with Steve. We have Chris Kornaros. How are you doing today?
Doing great, Richard. How are you?
Man, I am excellent. Can't complain. Excited to let people know what you got going on with Crypto Decrypted and how we're doing some exclusive YouTube only content. But before we do that, first want to learn a little bit more about you. Can you give our audience some background on yourself?
Yeah. So originally I'm from Vermont in the United States. I went to Tulane University from 2016 up until the spring of 2021, where I got an undergraduate degree in marketing, and then I got a master's in business analytics. So then last summer of 2021, I moved from New Orleans to Austin, Texas, where you are, Richard. And this is where I work full-time as a business intelligence analyst for General Motors. And then in my free time, I help out the podcast, do pretty much everything with our general content strategy. I look at a lot of our analytics, and a few months ago, I started up Crypto Basics with Chris K. So making some of my own content, but a little more dumbed down than what Richard and Steve bring y'all.
Yeah. So, glad to have you out here in Austin. It's been awesome bringing you on the team and really getting to continue to grow out the Cryptocurrent brand. And one of the things that we realized was that we wanted to continue to connect people and educate people with some of the more basic ground floor, entry level information. And you decided to step up and start providing that. And can you kind of speak to, because you've been dropping a lot of really good type of content, can you give the people a taste of what does that look like and what are some things that they can anticipate starting to learn?
Yeah. So initially, the Crypto Basics with Chris K, the concept was we wanted shorter content, that wasn't as long as the live streams we were doing, the Cryptocurrent lives that were shorter than the interviews, so that if you, just wanted a 10-minute video learning about a specific topic, we were providing that for you. And then recently, actually within the last week, we've kind of rethought our content process, rethought, how we want to provide that content. And we've actually made it shorter. Whereas sometimes, those videos were 12 or 15 minutes long and on topics that weren't necessarily basic, right? Like I know one of the videos was about what rebase coins are, which although not too complicated of a topic, it's far from that entry level information that you'd probably want to learn about in crypto. So now the kind of approach I'm taking at it is we want to essentially provide all our listeners, our viewers, our fans with actual basic content, create a roadmap for you guys to really learn about the entire cryptocurrency space, build up that foundation, and then get into more advanced topics. So right now up on the YouTube channel, under the Crypto Decrypted playlist, we have the most basic content you can imagine. The first video is what is blockchain? And then the second was what are blockchain layers? And the next one, so next Thursday, when we kind of get back into our group of Crypto Decrypted, will be what is Bitcoin? So those are the kind of videos you can expect is, about as basic as you can imagine. And they're going to be short, right? These are 4 to 5 minute videos. So if you have a busy day and you need just a quick break, this is the content for you. You're going to get a lot out of it. Hopefully I'll be entertaining and it's not going to take up too much of your time.
No, that's great. And it's exactly the right type of on-ramp for a lot of these newer people that are coming into space that are really trying to understand the basic core level foundation of what's going on, so that as they listen to some of the other content that we put out between our interviews as well as our conversations that we have on our live or on our show that we do on Wednesdays, the Aftershock, so that you can kind of keep up with some of the lingo that is going on. Now, you brought up 3 interesting things. And obviously today, everyone who's listening, this is definitely for more of the newer / people who are trying to get a really good foundation of what are some of these concepts. So you just brought up 2 things to kind of tease what kind of content they will be expecting, can you give us a very base level, what is blockchain?
Yeah. So essentially, blockchain is just a different way of storing data. Traditionally, you had these, massive computers. I'm sure you've seen kind of those old pictures and videos of what NASA's headquarters looked like when they were trying to put someone on the moon. You had, literal warehouses full of, essentially giant hard drives that were storing the data, were processing, all the math to essentially make a rocket work. And then, as technology got more advanced, we had these massive, massive amounts of storage, right? Like hundreds of gigabytes or a terabyte or even more that were on something the size of your phone. What blockchain does and what makes it a really interesting technology, especially from someone who works in data and loves data, is that it, rather than storing it in one location, it has several computers working together to kind of store pieces of that information, which makes it, in a lot of cases, a lot faster, but it also just reduces the overall size. And so for a lot of cryptocurrencies, which is where blockchain is most commonly used, it makes a lot of the transactions faster, because if you had one computer trying to process all of the Bitcoin transactions, you would essentially need a computer, I think it's like the size of New York City or something, right?
Right.
It's like that. That's just the scale you're working with. But on blockchain, you can have, thousands of computers that are way more spread out and have that same computing power and same storage capacity.
That is a really great and introductory way to learn about blockchain. And again, thank you for breaking that down. And just to tease up one more that you brought up, you talk about blockchain layers. And I think a lot of people don't really understand these different things. We bring up layer 1, layer 2, and layer 3. Like, what does all of this mean?
Yeah. So layer 1 is, it's essentially what Bitcoin is. It really is that base layer that nobody, and by nobody, I mean 99.9% of people will ever interact with. It's that base layer, the background, it's the code that kind of makes up everything and makes it work, right? In the same way that, when you log on to Facebook, for example, and you see a web page, the code in the background on that website that, tells the computer to show a blue Facebook logo and tells you to, tells this kind of computer to then also show like a search bar in your profile picture. All the code that does that, that's essentially layer 1. It's the background. Layer 2 takes that to the next step. And that's where, you have specific applications, but not that really anyone can interact with. It's, it's kind of that in between, between the absolute base and the third layer being the actual application itself. So what we see. So when you go to Spotify to listen to this, or if you're on YouTube watching the video, layer 3 is actually that application that you interact with. When you click the subscribe button, when you go to the cryptocurrency channel, all those clicks, all the typing you do, that's you interacting with a layer 3. For example, of course, it's a little different because crypto, there's no crypto YouTube yet, but, that's just the general idea. Layer 3 would be what you see. Layer 1 would be what, a coder in a dark basement would see.
Right. And thanks again for breaking that down, because I think, and that's the point of this. So for everyone listening to this is why you want to go check out Crypto Decrypted, where Chris is breaking down and decrypting a lot of these crypto terms that you hear all the time, but don't necessarily understand what's happening or a good way to explain it to your friend. Because at the end of the day, we want you to be able to take this information, understand what's going on, and then be able to speak on it to other people. Because when you really are able to share information in a way that's cohesive and people can follow it, that's when you know you've got it. And the goal of this, of Crypto Decrypted with Coach Chris K, is to help get that going, right? So, Chris, I know that you were at the beginning of 2022. There's a lot going on in the market, and there's a lot of things that there's kind of like a roadmap that we want to create for people as they're starting their crypto journey. What can people expect to be learning this year from you?
So the general plan right now is in the roadmap that we're still outlining, but I think we're getting a more concrete picture of it. It is going to be very basic. So, the next video will be what is Bitcoin, right? It's the first cryptocurrency. And to actually understand other cryptos, you do need to get why Bitcoin is what it is, why it works, and where its value comes from. And then from there, we're going to keep, kind of building, staying basic, but, one step at a time, getting a little more advanced, adding in, an extra thing here or there. So you may see videos like what is Ethereum, which is the first altcoin. And if you want to know more about that term, you got to go check out Decrypted. And then it'll keep building on itself, right? We're going to go from just looking at coins to looking at things like what are NFTs, what are their different applications, and how are they actually very similar or the same as a lot of the things we use today. And then long term, the end goal is after you understand the basics is and by we, I mean me, I'll want to get a lot more kind of in depth, right? And looking at very specific advanced topics, and that could range anything from, how do you do like leverage trading or what's options trading in crypto? Because those are very complex topics. But the reality is you really are just gambling when you do those kinds of trades if you don't understand the fundamentals. And so hopefully I'll be able to provide those fundamentals for you so you can get to that level where you're doing those crazy trades you read about on Reddit where someone turned $1,000 into $1 million.
Definitely exciting. So lessons that will be able to build upon themselves. And I think something else that's really unique to what you're doing is you're keeping it very short. So by being able to get to the point pretty quickly and to get a better understanding, it'll help people to be able to go through the content pretty quickly. Can you kind of speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. So the idea with how individual videos work is, I'll have a quick little intro where I'll give you the topic for the video. I'll tell you, let's say I'll just kind of walk you through, my typical template for like, what is Bitcoin? So it'll be a quick intro saying, this video, we're diving into Bitcoin. And then I'll tell you what Bitcoin is, how it works, and then why it's important. And that'll all be in under 5 minutes. It'll be opinion free. I'm literally just going to be kind of teaching you the general definition, giving you an example to make it kind of easier to understand, but also so that you can tell other people about it. And I think that's the biggest thing. Obviously, I would love if everyone in the world had to come to us to learn about it. But at the end of the day, the only way, really that more and more people will learn about this stuff more quickly is if I explain it simply enough that you could then go, tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your siblings, this is what blockchain is. This is how it works. This is why it's really cool. And you should learn more about it.
So we're at this really interesting inflection point where there are people who are quote unquote OGs who have been in the space for, let's call it anywhere from 4 to 10 years. And then we have people who are absolutely brand spanking new getting into this space because they've heard about it for forever, or someone bought an NFT or whatever reason. Like, this is the year they're finally deciding, I'm going to start learning this thing. Have they missed the boat? Are they too late? Like, why would they, is it still worth their time to learn this stuff right now?
Yeah, I absolutely think it's a good time to learn everything. And the reason being, right, when I first, I started cryptocurrent as like a video editing intern summer of 2020. And the only thing I knew about crypto at the time was, okay, I know what Bitcoin is. It went up to 20K when I was in college still. That's cool. I've heard about Ethereum, but honestly, I don't know what it is. It's decentralized, cool. That was it. Since then, I've learned a lot more. And it really just makes me want to keep learning. And I don't think there's ever a period of time where it'll be too late to get in. And, that's kind of twofold. Part of that being that the space will continue to evolve. It's going to continue to build on itself in the same way the internet has, right? Like, it's gone up from these very simple web pages to websites where you can literally go in and with a few clicks of a button have a mortgage deposited into your bank account in seconds. Like, that's how much the internet has developed in 20 years. Crypto's developing at an even faster rate. And although that may sound like a reason, oh, I'm going to miss the boat, you're not, because the things that will be the most impactful from crypto haven't even been thought of yet, let alone started development. The other reason I don't think it's too late is you see all these crazy stories online of people that, basically were considered failures for most of their lives. Then they hit their mid 50s or they hit their early 60s and they have that great idea. They kept learning and pushing their whole life. And then finally, they punch their ticket and they see all this success. Even though it took them longer, even though maybe they got in later, they're still getting to, the heights that most people never, ever reach. But because they took the time to learn, they took the time to put in the effort, it's, everything kind of worked out in the end. And that's the way I look at crypto is just because you're not going to be able to buy a, Bored Ape for $10 and turn it into 2 million doesn't mean an opportunity like that won't come again down the line.
Right. Having you be prepared. And just to add to that, I also agree that this is the best time to be getting into crypto right now is right now. As you continue to educate yourself, as you continue to find ways to understand what's going on, because when those opportunities come about, you can participate. What's great about what we're providing with you at Cryptocurrent, not only are we going to teach you what all of these things mean, we're also going to help you find alpha. We're going to help get you in front of some really cool projects super early on their landscape and then where they're headed. And then we're also going to be able to give you insights into other things that are currently going on in the space. We're going to help you through your full crypto journey. And the first place that you can start, especially if you're newer to this, is to be able to educate yourself. And the reason that we're doing this and why I created this in the first place, as far as Cryptocurrent go, was when I first got in, I didn't have a place where I could go and get all of the information I needed for both education, understanding projects to be looking out for, and then different ideas and things to be current on that I should be aware of fairly quickly so I could potentially be able to take advantage of it. And right now, this is the final piece that we're adding to make sure that you are getting that initial education. So I definitely want to encourage everyone to check out Crypto Decrypted. Chris, one more question that I have with you that I typically ask everyone, with all the information that you have right now, and you go back to yourself when you first got started, like what are the things in the tools or the lessons that you would teach yourself when you first got in?
Honestly, it would be to stay away from the projects that people only talk about price with. Because, and this is just the top example in my mind, is, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad project, but this is kind of why I stayed away from it, even when almost everyone I knew in crypto was obsessed with it. All people talked about with Cardano for over a year was, this is the next big thing. It's going to be the, bigger and better than Ethereum. It's only at this price now, but it's going to go up to thousands and thousands of dollars. You have to buy in. And I kind of bought in for a while and then I'd sell because I just didn't know. And I just shouldn't even have wasted my time with it, because if all people have to say about a crypto project is, look at how low its price is, it's going to go here, chances are it's not going there and it won't go up much higher than where it's at, because it means the value it has nothing to do with the project. Whereas a project like Helium, which Richard and any of our listeners that have heard me talk about it, I love Helium because the conversation around it is never, oh, look at where its price is at, it should go to here. The conversation is always, look at all the cool things they're doing, look at these real world applications, look at how they're kind of branching out beyond crypto. And the reason I love that project is, even though they're a crypto blockchain project, they're not kind of gatekeeping that from traditional companies. Most of their biggest partners are traditional in a sense. And that's just kind of what I'd say, right? Is just to dumb it down. If all someone can say is good about a project is how cheap it is, do not go near it, because it means there probably isn't much more than just a, get rich quick gambling scheme. But if someone can go on for minutes or even hours about all the great applications or the cool things coming, I would do more research on that because chances are that project will be around to stay.
Do your own research, continue to look after it. Don't focus so much on the price, focus on what's trying to be built and roadmap, and are they executing on the roadmap, and does it have real world application, everything else. As a quick reminder, all these cryptocurrencies aren't necessarily meant to be currencies. They're blockchain startups, and 90% of all startups ultimately fail. But it doesn't mean that there aren't gems within those that the 10% that's going to make it. There's going to be some absolute gems. But even part of the 90%, they don't all fail at the same time. They might have glory days. They might have a really good run that do very well, but ultimately don't make it. Point being, do your research, find or get into projects that make sense to you, that you really can understand what they're trying to accomplish. And if you believe in the vision that they have and that you think they can execute on it, invest how you see fit. But ultimately, we want to continue to give you the tools to be able to do your own research and have a really good understanding of why you would or would not move forward with something. But Chris, as we wrap up here, man, what is a final thought that you want to leave with everyone listening?
I think if I were to give you all a final piece of advice, it'd be this. It's always easier to kind of go and look at the biggest person in the space, or the most followed, most interacted. They all seem like they want to help you and they know the most. But at the end of the day, just because someone seems that way online does not mean that's who they are. You got to be careful. You got to do your research, and always in the back of your mind, remember that not everyone is going to be looking out for you. They're going to be looking out for themselves. So be very careful, do your research, and no matter how long it takes, you'll be successful in the end.
Great final thought. Chris, what are ways that people can connect with you and learn more about you and go check out Crypto Decrypted?
Yeah. So for those that don't know, you can follow me on Twitter at It's Me Chis. That's ITSMECHIS. My profile picture is of a donut that one of my friends created and minted as an NFT. So definitely awesome. Check me out. I mostly tweet about, gaming stuff, sometimes sports, but, crypto as well, because there's a lot of exciting things happening and I just love talking about it. So if you have any questions, you can DM me, you can tweet at me, or you can tune into our YouTube channel and check out Crypto Decrypted on Thursdays.
Perfect. Well, again, thank you so much for spending time with us, Chris. Everyone listening, make sure you go check out Crypto Decrypted. And of course, stay cryptocurrent.